Hello, beautiful souls, and thank you so much for joining us for another day of the Pet Lovers Summit. My name's Iena SpiritWalker, and I have the beautiful Twinney here with us today, and she is going to be discussing horses as our master teachers. Following the call of the horse, a blind leap of faith took this horsewoman across the pond to become recognized by British royalty and the US government as one of the premier professionals in the language of the horse. Twinney is a natural horsewoman, equine behaviorist, international clinician, animal communicator, healer, teacher, speaker, and coach. She's best known for her authentic communication and connection to heal the hearts of horses and humans alike. Before anyone had ever heard of equine coaching or therapy, Anna's journey began as a lifelong horse enthusiast and British police officer, looking for a way to bring healing to victims, to her fellow officers through the horse-human communication. There we go. Her search brought her to California to become a co-creator and first head instructor of the famous Monty Roberts International Learning Center. Realizing her journey was only beginning, Anna left the MRILC to find her own voice, working with and studying wild and untouched horses. Creator of Reach Out to Horses, a comprehensive international equine behavior and training program, Anna has worked with over 10,000 horses and thousands more of horse lovers, professionals, and competitors. From serving military veterans, celebrities, backyard horse owners, and Olympic dressage competitors to shining the light on the plight of the wild horses, nurse foals, tribal mustangs, PMU industry, and supporting the nonprofits who fight for them, Anna has worked with and trained with horses and countless people in disciplines and industries. Anna, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's actually wonderful to listen to the bio because it brings back memories to say, yes, these are all the places you've been, and this is actually the difference that you've made. I think sometimes it becomes too easy to keep on moving forward and being in the present time and forgetting all the wonderful memories we've gained along the way.
Yes, and people don't know, but this is actually an abbreviated version. I had to trim it down. There's so much. You've had such a vast variety of experiences and information that you've spread all over the planet, and it was really hard to chunk it down. So I do appreciate you doing that for us. Oh, I'm losing my voice. No, come back. Okay. I have a question actually from your bio, and you can answer it while I'm taking a beverage. What is the PMU industry?
It's a huge industry. It's called pregnant mare's urine. And in its day, in the late 1990s, there were 50,000 Premarins here in the United States where they would harvest the urine for hormone replacement therapy. And so it's a big thing called Premarin. And so what that means is women going through the change would take the Premarin cream or I don't even know if they're tablets, but ultimately these 50,000 mares were held captive in a pea line pregnant so that they could take that urine. But not only is that difficult and harsh, the second piece was that the babies would be a byproduct of this, and they would be taken ultimately to the feedlot and on their way to slaughter, if not picked up by incredible individuals. This particular industry moved to Canada because the United States started to sue. And so they would sue for cancer and blood clots and so on. So they ended up moving it to Canada. And most recently, before everything happened with COVID, everything was going to China. So the more it went away from the United States, the less say we have and the less regulations there are for these beautiful horses. They got downsized allegedly to about 8,000, but it still exists today, still endorsed by many individuals today, and many doctors don't realize that the babies are byproducts. So it's a really big industry.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. Okay, so the Premarin is produced from pregnant mare horse urine, but also the uterus as well?
No, pregnant mare horse urine. So they collect it in like a little pee bag, and they'd use larger horses to do that. And so So we have many. I put it actually on one of my DVDs, a little piece at the end for people to say, hey, women, you don't need to take Premarin. There's other ways to go. There's plant-based ways to go, and that you save a mare and you save a foal if you educate yourself on it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. First of all, that's a huge nugget, and we're not even 5 minutes into this conversation. So thank you for that. And I've been working with a horse rescue locally here in Pennsylvania, and the stories that I hear, I was just talking to them yesterday and just like crying. I'm just like, I don't know. I know you guys do this because you love the horses, but oh my gosh, just emotionally, I just don't know how that's possible.
I'll tell you, actually, it's easier with the horses, I find, for the fact that when the horse is rescued, they're fine. They're comfy, they'll grow to trust again, they're in a safe environment, and a horse rescue generally is pretty attractive ultimately. It's not like your dog rescues, those are the tough ones where you walk in and they're in the, as I get teary too, they're in the cage. They're the ones jumping up and down going, pick me. So the horse is generally a little bit happier once they're taken out of that bad situation. They can more likely come through. So yes,
oh my gosh,
a huge thing. And then I've dedicated ultimately, I mean, it's funny to say, but it's been over 30 years that I dedicated my life to rescue, be that in the United Kingdom or here. And the whole business model was based on rescues and sanctuaries, and to go in either through natural horsemanship or animal communication. And it's actually how I met my horse, Excalibur. He's a Spanish Mustang, and there's so many roads with the Spanish Mustangs that I met him. I believe twice, and this is one of the stories to go with. And so I met him first in California at a wild horse sanctuary, and this is where the story begins and the memories begin. And when you're an immigrant, which everybody is in the United States at some point through their history, but I came in too only with a suitcase and not necessarily planning to stay. And so to be in this country and give up my past and try and do my best to trailblaze for myself and others meant that I too lived out of a suitcase, put my horse behind me, my dog, my husband, everything behind me to go and follow the horse. And with it, I worked for a beautiful Mustang sanctuary, one of the largest now in the United States, quite well known. And I was gentling the Mustangs. And the philosophy was, if they wanted to be gentled, if they followed you in, if they were sick, we would support them in finding another home. But otherwise, they were in a sanctuary for sure. And it was a little fellow that I got to know, little grew your head, buckskin body, few months old. And he needed to be castrated because he was a little oversexed. That's a good way to say it. A little oversexed, and was bothering his mummy and the little herd that he was in that was eclectic. And so I gentled him out in the herd, and that's unheard of. Usually you gentle them in little paddocks and so on, but I gentled him out in the herd, and he was really, really
I have a non-horse question. I'm sorry to interrupt you. What does gentled mean?
It's imagine a wild horse that you can't touch. So imagine a light animal that you can't get close to. And so often people can reference wolves versus dogs easier. So the dog being domestic, the wolf being wild. Well, the Mustang is the equivalent, and it's that wild horse that we have about 27,000 in the United States, fingers crossed, still out on the range, but they too are being managed into extinction, in my opinion, and they're just taking more and more off the range. And so this fella had been born in captivity, and we brought him in to be castrated. And that would mean that he would maybe be a little calmer in that sense and not bother any of his family members. And my boss in those days, her gut had told her there's something not quite right on this day. He would lead beautifully. He was gentle. And that was important, because if they're wild, when they get sedated and they come out of that sedation, they can rush, they can panic, they can run into panels. They can inadvertently kill themselves if it goes really wrong because of that wildness. But if you gentle them first, they have a good chance to be able to get up safely.
Okay.
I was there with the veterinarian. And my dog was there, Merlin, and we were just going down memory lane chatting. He was under sedation, this little colt. We thought everything had gone well. Merlin had lied by his side a few times, and I called Merls out. And Merlin kept on going back, and I thought, this is strange. And then he was under sedation a little bit too long. And I said, when's he going to get up? And he said, there's only one problem. When we castrated him, if you see any of the intestines coming out, just call me. It's a fairly big deal, but call me.
Yeah.
Little did I know, or he, that as soon as this little colt stood up, his intestines hit the ground.
Oh.
When they hit the ground, there's an instant infection. His tummy was coming out like spaghetti, and he ran into my arms. He ran into my arms and he cradled his head here, and a lot of me wanted to run. My legs wanted to run, but my body stayed. It was really interesting. And ultimately, it was that moment to say, we can do nothing. Your intestines have hit the ground. He through his actions was asking what was happening. We through ours were going, oh my goodness, there's nothing we can do for you. It ended up that such a simple action for dogs neutering, for him castration, ended up in such a tragedy.
Yeah.
That day, just as he was saying, the vet said to me, is this colt up for adoption? And I found myself saying, which is my form of animal communication for me personally, automatic speech. No, he's coming home with me. We're going to Colorado together.
Mm-hmm.
I committed to something, which was huge to commit to something when you have very little. I had my truck, I had my dog, and now I was committing to this little wild being. And you're committing for 30 years, as you know, when you're in the rescue world. It's not just, I'll see what happens. I'm taking you unconditionally. And he passed.
Oh.
He was a beautiful little Mustang colt, and I'd opened my heart up to him, and it seemed so unusual, but such a beautiful, innocent life lost too, that was unexplainable. He had his future ahead of him. We connected with him on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Through that, only I knew that we were looking at a their little calyx, 3-swirled Mustang, 9 months old, Gruya, which is a gray head, buckskin body. And I said, I want you to come back that way. And he had delivered that information. This is what I'm going to look like. And in 2 years' time. So believe it or not, I got invited to do a lecture on Mustangs up in Red Feather Lakes in those days in Colorado. It was 2-3 hours away in a 10-minute thing. And as it happens, the weather turned in Colorado. In January, it got snow. I couldn't go. February, something else canceled. March, my calendar was full, but I went anyway. The magic number. Mm-hmm. And when I was there, they said, do you want to come outside and look at this little colt? I'm thinking, and help feed. And I thought, I don't want to go outside. It's really, really cold, and it's 10 at night, and I've done my lecture, so on. They came back in and said, would you mind helping coming outside? And this time I went outside. I saw the light. I said, could you bring that colt forward? Grew your head, buckskin body, 9 months old, untouched, 3 little calyx on his forehead.
Yes.
I was not a believer of reincarnation. It wasn't in my upbringing, wasn't in my studies, wasn't in my knowledge. And it took me back a bit, and it was March, and he took my breath away. It took me a little while to decide to bring him in. That commitment of 30 years, but only a few. It was my birthday, 30th of April. I said, he's coming in. Yes. He was a May baby. So he too is a Taurus. So Taurus meets Taurus. Excalibur was born. And Excalibur was born with the communication that he stated he was coming back. And if that alone doesn't speak to people or open those hearts and those minds to say, this is possible to have an animal come back to us in this lifetime. Since then, he's taught hundreds of people about reincarnation.
Wow.
Through animal communication sessions, through classes, through holding a piece of hair from the other colt, all of these magnificent things to go, it is possible for them to come back. He teaches not only that life lesson of reincarnation, but so much more comes from him, so that people can feel his strength. They can feel the difference between then and now, the chest opening. They can give the details of how he lives now. All the impossible becomes possible when we open that mind and that heart up. So this little colt, 9 months old, he's now 16. He's changed color. He's a magnificent leader of leaders, and he comes into class on multiple levels. He's highly intelligent, very creative, somewhat complex, has multiple personalities, and he's proven himself over the time with his own herd in many situations that I could talk of. But ultimately, when people handle him, they would learn the lessons, just like a horse. I think that people go into horsemanship to learn the feel, timing, balance, how to sit properly, how to cue an individual, what is communication truly like. And if they want to learn the jumping or the eventing, or indeed they want to go into Western riding, they go into horses. But perhaps they don't know what else they're going to learn,
Right.
And this is the big piece with the animals, as you know, it changes who we are.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Right? We think we're on the planet for one reason, and then the next thing happens that you go, you know what? He's teaching me boundaries. He's got such strong boundaries that you don't want to be overrun. He teaches you not to suck back and hide. Perhaps teach you when they stand on your foot that it's not about that simple disrespect, but the individual wasn't in the moment. How better can a horse teach a human to stay in the moment by just standing on their foot, because you're going to be more present. The list is endless, honestly. I could give you the list to say people come into horses for these reasons. They leave with something so unexpected. Hearts that were closed, heart guards that were present, people that have lost the trust, have been abused mentally, physically, sexually, in all kinds of ways. They find peace. They're open to source with the horses, because the horses are so terribly connected to source. They live in the present time. So the horses, for me, are one of the best individuals to teach people about the true self. There is no species. The dogs are too loyal, you see. The dogs would just tell you, you're amazing. I'll wag my tail anyway. I'm just happy to lie with you in bed. I'll leave for a little bit, come back. Do you see me now? And no matter what people do, to a degree, they're going to come back with unconditional love. The horses, less so. They're not offering unconditional love necessarily. They're offering authenticity, to say when you're aligned, body, mind, spirit, you're able to interact and connect. When you're misaligned, some of them offer the energy healing. I'm not sure if people have seen that, but they will do the energy healing on individuals. They repay the kindness. They'll pay it forward. And so the miracles happen as the breath goes into the body.
Yes. That's amazing. I know exactly what you're talking about. You're totally talking my language. And I know that the people who are watching are understanding exactly what you're saying as well. And really, just to take a step back from what you're discussing, it's really about our interaction with all sentient beings, and how there is an ebb and flow. There is a communication with everything. It's not just circumstance. Oh, he stepped on your foot. No, you're not here. You're not present, and you need to pay attention. And that's huge as I think humanity moves forward, because I believe we're in this really rapid ascension time right now for humanity, and animals are sort of forging the way. We're going there together. And I really feel, I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about it. I really feel like this culmination and this summit is really just about reminding us, because we all know that we're all one, but just reminding us, getting us back on that page that animals are our master teachers. We are all connected.
And I feel that like you're saying, there's such depth as far as the idea We can bring the children to the horses, and perhaps they'll learn that there's a heartbeat and there's personalities and characters and herd hierarchies and interactions and community, which is huge. Now you peel away the next level and you realize they have a language. It's unspoken. It's through telepathy, energetic exchange, and then the nuance of the ear and the tail. Next layer. Then you look at it to go, wow, they can teach you to be whole and present and trust in a being. And where the child hasn't spoken, they're now speaking. Where the woman couldn't release the tears because she's in so much pain, she's releasing. Where that big animal of 1,1400 pounds, who is vulnerable by being a flight animal and yet so powerful in their body, stands there to say, you can feel safe around me. They melt. Then we peel away the next level to go, you can talk to your horse, yes, through body language, where you could ask them to come and go and call them by name. And yet you can talk through the mind to go, what is it you're truly here for? Why are you in my life? Are you here to help me through a hard time because there's a divorce, or we're putting roots down, or this is a childhood dream that's being realized? Or are you here on another level to teach me to talk to spirit? And at the same time, while I find myself, we have a journey through paradise together. And this is the thing with the horses. You peel away the next level to go, did you know they can shape your business? They're going to take you in the direction that your heart wants to go. And instead of listening to the fear-based of, is there enough money? Or I should be in a job for 30 years. And people will frown upon it. Family will discard me. It's not normal to move into perhaps an unpaid job or move into your heart's desire. And yet that horse can lead you there to go, you know what? You're unhappy in your cubicle. You're unhappy as a teacher now currently because you're teaching a curriculum. You're not teaching what the students need. You're teaching how to pass a test. I'm making this up, but maybe you're unhappy there and you find your solace out in nature and you realize that they complete you. And so there's so many layers that we peel away again to go, do you have a relationship where you're talking to your animal? Where you know, looking in their eyes, that you've met before, and you know that there's way more to riding than kicking and pulling and telling the children that it's okay, you've got to learn somehow, let's pull them in the mouth and let's yank them around and let's kick them in the belly and give them confusing messages. The children have to learn somehow. Or do we, as the people and the children say, tune into your intuition? You know it's not right to pull them on the mouth. You know you can ask and not tell them. You know you could ride bitless, just like in your dreams. And in fact, will listen, right? That you go, you're right as a child. You're connected to this already. Don't let the world scar you and shape you to something you are not, which is using the crop so that you get the task done, the result you see, achievement, get the medal, instead of, did you truly partner? Did you partner where that horse loves you, appreciates you, respects you, and trusts you? See, a lot of this is about, do we get trust, respect, and leadership by being that leader, right? By walking in as a human, we're already elevated, is a lot of the belief. Instead of going, I need to earn that. You need to earn their love, earn their trust, earn their respect. And that changes the partnership completely to go, now I'm willing to see who you are. You're no longer livestock. You're no longer an object. You are Excalibur. You are majestic. You rose again from one horse to another. You are a leader of leaders. You're taking care of your mares. And when I come along, I don't want you to go, oh, she's here, dum-da-dum-da-dum, I'm doing something I don't like, right? Let's look around an arena again. I want you to look and go, what is it we can do today? How can we inspire one another? How can we bring joy to our lives? And for me, those are your layers that you're peeling away, which is exactly full circle, coming back to what you're saying, to come back to our roots and who we're truly meant to be on a huge crusade, I think.
Yeah.
And in a way, don't want to end on a downer, but in a way, there's so much happening with population and expansion and building and concrete cities and disconnecting from nature, that for me, this is a time to bring everybody back to nature, putting the feet on the ground and hearing and hearing the animals speak and hearing spirit speak.
That's beautiful. I love that. And it speaks to me so deeply. And just to give a brief analogy about how people can think differently about how they're partnering with animals. Okay, so what if you have a boss, right? And your boss at work is beating you with a whip every time you do something wrong or yanking your face? That's not okay.
Yeah.
And for our society to say that it's okay to do it to animals and horses specifically, that's not okay either. And walking together, as you said, as partners and bringing about the changes that we need and the magic that we can create together is such a beautiful message. Thank you so much for bringing that to us.
You're so welcome. And you know what's funny? Now you brought that piece up. We're looking to be so PC in society with children and adults of what you can and can't say. And yet the definition really with people and horses and people and dogs, it's about the compliance. And the way we're often trained is if that dog's doing the right thing, if that horse is doing the right thing that we're seeking, that's a partnership. And so truthfully, that's control and compliance. And so what we're looking for would be communication and collaboration and compromise for a true partnership. And it's about putting the time in to say, I see you, I see your needs, and I'm going quiet enough to listen. And I'm pausing instead of just rushing forward. I'm pausing to see what you want and how you feel. And so there's many little messages, but huge messages to say, let's pause, let's come back to nature. Let's put those feet on the ground and let these horses be our teachers.
That is beautiful. Iena, Twinney, thank you so much for being part of the Pet Lovers Summit. What is your website? How can people find you?
So kind of you. It's reachouttohorses.com. Under construction. Promise there's going to be a new one coming, but it's been a long time.
And there's a link below. Awesome. Thank you so much. Iena, you are absolutely amazing. I could talk to you for 5 more hours. We promised to keep it brief today. So thank you so much for being part of the Pet Lovers Summit. I really honor and appreciate you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.